You sort of alluded to it earlier that working with WWE was kind of always the same, and then the politics started. And as we're speaking now, I don't think you work with WWE anymore. How did that come to an end? And do you blame politics, or was it just time, or what happened?
Oh, it's absolutely politics. It was a guy there who was trying to kill me and get his people in the door, which he eventually successfully did. And I slowly got just sort of just kind of pushed out because I wasn't getting the full information about characters and what was needed, uh, and so it eventually worked, and Vince eventually fired me at the end of 2017.
And you had been with the
Which is strange on so many levels. Uh, that, but I guess that process had, which of course everyone involved in that will vehemently deny. um, that process was going on for years, really, and um, I think by the time that Vince finally fired me, I think I was kind of so burned out on it. I was, fine. I'll go. It's like, wow, because this stopped being fun a
right.
while ago. So, because early on it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and when things become not fun, um, you're never going to do your best work,
Right.
and it's no way to live a life. Should be some element of fundamental happiness in one's life.
Yes. And
Yeah,
you,
but it was a very strange process, strange in how it all came down. Um, Strange in that I know from people who were still there that, man, I disappeared. I didn't even get the classic corporate email to everyone saying, Jim Johnston no longer is an employee of WWE, and so should not be allowed into the building, or just a standard lawyer's email that would always go out when someone was fired. But it was just like, boom, that's it. And I never heard from anyone there.
even still, you haven't.
Never.
Does that bother your wife?
Yes, there are a couple of people that she would happily shoot. Yeah.
I know as men sometimes the providers of the household and whatnot, we just sort of live to take our losses and take it on the chin, but our wives sometimes in the background have a pretty strong opinion. And I imagine, given your time there, that could have been the case.
Yeah, but yeah, it's nice to have the support. It,
Sure.
um, but at the same time, I would always encourage her, don't, not worth thinking about.
Right. Totally agree. Um, we'll edit this out if you're not comfortable with it, but I assume the folks you're talking about are the CFOs, because that's who started to do a lot of the themes, right?
Well, those are the guys who came in the door, but um, those guys weren't orchestrating the transition.
I got you. Someone had it in for you.
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave that where it is. I can tell.
I mean, it probably doesn't speak well of me, but my intuitions, but maybe the most disappointing part of it was someone who I thought we were not friends. We were good friends, close friends, I thought. And so that part, I will confess, that hurt. And because I guess, I'm a little bit of a, I don't know. I'm certainly not a pussy, but I feel things very deeply.
Right. Emotional.
I value my friendships, and I think friendship and trust is an incredibly important part of life. And if you're fortunate enough to have, through your entire life, just a couple of really good friends that you absolutely would put your life in their hands and know that they'll never betray you,
Right.
then boy, you've won the race. And so, I thought this guy was a lot more than a partner at work. I thought we were friends. And so it's interesting is, even if you're the one who got betrayed,
Right.
It doesn't make you feel the disappointment less, which has always been kind of an interesting life dynamic, I think.
So you mentioned you haven't spoken with Vince. You haven't spoken with Kevin Dunn either.
No.
Anything else you'd like to share about your departure from WWE before we finish on a fun high note?
No, yes. I'll just say very simply that relative to the time of my departure, or maybe more accurately, from the time when I was sort of getting pushed out, I think trying to be as objective as possible and hearing a lot of feedback from other people involved, including a bunch of the wrestlers over the years, that there is a strange coincidence between that time and when the music started to get really generic and not so good.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's just a coincidence, though.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence too. You've expressed that you like the idea of doing stuff outside of wrestling. Would you be interested in working in the wrestling space more, or is that in the rearview mirror and now it's on to new challenges?
I actually approached AEW at one point to write some themes for them, with no interest. Now, the way I approached, it's very possible that the people in charge never got that memo, but
I can make sure they get a memo.
okay, I'd be happy to write some themes for them. I'd be happy to write some themes for WWE, but I don't want to get, I would never want to get as immersed as I was.
Right.
But it's almost a frustration to me the few times I'm just going through the cable stations and I land on one of these programs, and just everything seems so, I'm like shaking my head. It's like, what does this music have to do with anything? What is, we've gone from a time when you could be cooking in the kitchen and the TV's 2 rooms away and you could tell who's coming out to the ring. And now it's noise.